Imagine yourself an experiment. There are two sides taking part in it. On one side, humans. Those same humans who think they are the smartest creatures on the planet. We build cities, launch rockets to Mars, create artificial intelligence, and in general, we are used to thinking that if someone has a real mind, then it is definitely us. And on the other side, ants. Such tiny little creatures that sometimes it is even hard to see them, not even talking about some strength, big intelligence, or the ability to work better than a human. And these two, as it would seem, completely unequal sides were given a very simple task. They just had to carry a T-shaped object through a maze with narrow passages. Sounds not that hard, right? But still, to make it fair, humans were not allowed to talk, gesture, make agreements, or in general communicate in any normal way. Just a physical task with teamwork. And maybe someone already guessed it, maybe not, but the result was not so predictable. Humans simply lost. And maybe someone can think that, well, maybe there were too few humans, and there were several dozens of ants. But no. The more humans were in the group, the worse they were doing. Everyone was pulling wherever he wanted. Everyone thought that he knew how it should be done. And in the end, in the group of humans, everyone was such a smart guy. That is why they started getting in the way of themselves. But with ants, the picture was completely different. The more ants there were, the better, faster, and more accurate their group and their actions became. And here appears a very uncomfortable question. How can a creature with a brain smaller than a grain of sand, in some tasks, work better than humans? And the answer to this question is much more interesting than it seems to you. Because ants are not just some small insects that run around your kitchen, climb into sugar, or carry some crumb near the sidewalk. Right under your feet, right now, there may be a whole civilization. A civilization that is more than 100 million years old. It survived dinosaurs. It survived ice ages. It survived disasters after which whole species disappeared. And what is most interesting, most likely, it will survive us too. Ants build underground cities, wage wars, grow food, heal the wounded, bury the dead, take slaves, create living bridges out of their own bodies, and can even sacrifice themselves in a way that sounds like something from a horror movie. And all this is done by creatures smaller than the nail on your little finger. But even this is not the most interesting thing. The most interesting thing is that they have no commander. We are used to thinking, if there is order, then someone controls it. If there is a city, then there is some kind of power. If there is an army, then there is a general. If someone is building something, then someone gave a plan. But with ants, everything works differently. The queen, which many people imagine as the main ruler of the anthill, actually does not control anything. She does not give orders. She does not say who should go where. She does not decide where to dig a tunnel, who to send to war, and who to send to look for food. Her main task is to lay eggs. That's all. So just imagine a country where there is no president, no army headquarters, no police, no bosses, but still everything works. Food is found. The children are cared for. Enemies are stopped. The dead are carried away. Tunnels are repaired. Sounds strange, but that is exactly how an anthill works. Because an anthill is not just many separate ants, it is a superorganism. In simple words, it is like one big body which consists of thousands or even millions of small bodies. One ant by itself almost means nothing. If you take it away from the colony, very quickly it starts behaving strangely. Even if you give it food and water, it loses normal behavior, starts moving chaotically, and slowly fades away. Because one ant is like a cell that was pulled out of the organism. But the colony, that is already a different thing. It reacts, protects itself, grows, heals, fights, and makes decisions like one living creature. But how do they do it? The answer is very simple: smell. Ants live in a world of smells. Only for them, smell is not just nice or bad, like for us. For them, it is a language. It is a map. It is an instruction. It is a warning. One smell can mean, there is food here. Another one, there is danger here. Another one, this path is good. Or, this ant is a stranger. Or even, I am dead, carry me away. When an ant finds food, It does not scream, "Guys, I found it." It just returns to the nest and leaves behind a chemical trail. Other ants feel this trail with their antennae and go after it, and they also leave the smell. The more ants go by this road, the stronger the trail becomes, and the more new ants choose exactly this way. No one draws a map, no one counts the distance, no one decides at some meeting which route is better. But in the end, the colony itself finds the shortest and most comfortable way. And here it becomes really strange. What ants have been doing by instinct for millions of years, humans later started copying in computer algorithms, logistics, and route optimization. So these small creatures under our feet gave us hints on how to better solve tasks that we ourselves were struggling with for a long time. But this is only the beginning, because ants do not just search for food. Some of them became farmers long before humans. Look at leafcutter ants. They cut pieces of leaves and carry them into the nest. And from the side it looks almost funny. A small ant is walking, and above him there is a huge green piece of leaf, like an umbrella or a flag. And you might think that now he will eat it. But no. Leafcutter ants do not eat leaves. They carry them to their underground farm. There they grind the leaves, put them in special chambers, and on this mass grows a fungus. And this fungus is what they eat. So for them, leaves are not food. It is like soil for their farm. Humans invented agriculture around 12,000 years ago, and this is considered one of the biggest steps in human history, because exactly thanks to agriculture, cities, food supplies, states, and civilizations appeared. But ants have been doing this for tens of millions of years. When our ancestors did not even exist in a normal form yet, these tiny creatures were already growing food underground. And they do not just have some small garden. They have a real system for protecting the farm. On the bodies of some ants live bacteria that help fight mold and diseases of the fungus. If some part of the farm gets infected, ants feel it. They cut out the infected piece and carry it far away from the nest.
So they have quarantine.
Without laboratories, without scientists, without explanations, the system simply felt there is a problem here and immediately removed it. But ants went even further. Some species became not only farmers but also herders. They raise aphids almost like humans raise cows. Ants protect aphids from predators, move them to fresh plants, guard them, and sometimes even take their eggs into the nest for winter, so in spring they can bring them back outside again. And why do they need this? Aphids release a sweet liquid. Ants touch them with their antennae, like they are milking them, and get food. And just think about this. While humans were still only learning how to survive, ants already had farms, livestock, a system of protection from diseases, and a smart distribution of food. But even this is not the strongest thing about them. The strongest thing is that they can heal. After a battle between ants, the field does not look cute at all. There are dead ones, wounded ones, someone without a leg, someone barely moving. And then another ant comes up to the wounded one. It looks at him, touches him with antennae, licks the wound. At first it may seem that this is just cleaning. Well, like removing dirt. But no, this is real treatment. In ant saliva there can be substances that fight infection. They treat wounds, remove toxins, and really increase the chance to survive. And some ants do an even scarier thing. They can amputate a damaged leg. Yes, you heard it right. Ants can bite off the limb of their wounded companion if they understand that the infection can spread further. Sounds cruel. But the logic is the same as in military medicine. Better to lose part of the body than to die completely. And what is even more interesting, they do not treat everyone. If the wound is too serious and there are almost no chances, the colony does not waste resources. They help those who can actually be saved. For us, this can sound cold. But for an anthill, this is not cruelty. This is survival. Because the colony works like one organism. And if some part has a chance to survive, it is saved. If not, the system moves on. They act the same way with the dead. When an ant dies inside the nest, at first it almost does not look different from a living one. But after some time, its body starts smelling differently. The smell of death appears, and as soon as other ants feel it, they grab the body and carry it to a special place, something like an ant cemetery. And here there was one very strange experiment. On a living ant, scientists put substances that smell like a dead ant. And what happened? He was simply carried to the cemetery. He came back. They carried him away again. He came back again. And this continued until the smell disappeared. So, for the system, it does not matter if you are really alive or dead. You smell like death. That means you must be removed. Hard, but very effective. And exactly because of such accuracy, an anthill can survive where other species simply die. And now imagine another situation, a flood. Water rises fast, covers the ground, the nest, the grass, everything around. For most insects, this is a catastrophe, but not for fire ants. When water starts flooding their home, they do not just run around in panic. They connect their bodies. Thousands of ants grab each other with legs and jaws, and in a few minutes they create a living raft. A real living raft made of their own bodies. In the center of this raft, the queen, eggs, and larvae. On the edges, worker ants, which take the main hit of the water. And this raft does not sink. On the bodies of ants there are tiny hairs that hold air. Thanks to this, the whole structure stays on the surface. More than that, such a raft can exist for days and even weeks. It does not just float wherever. It changes shape, reacts to obstacles, stretches, shrinks, goes around branches, and tries to reach land. No one commands. No one says, you stand on the left, you on the right, and you hold the center. Each ant does one simple action, but together they create a construction that saves the whole colony. And army ants do something similar, only on land. They build living bridges. When a huge column moves through the forest and sees a hole, a gap, or some obstacle, part of the ants simply stops and connects with each other. Others run over them from above. So some ants literally become a road for others. And this bridge can change. If there are many ants, it becomes wider. If the flow becomes smaller, some ants disconnect and move on. The body becomes a tool. The body becomes building material. But there are ants that use their body even more radically. They explode. Yes, it sounds like a joke, but it is real. In tropical forests, there are species of ants that, in a moment of danger, can literally tear their own body apart. Inside them, there is a special toxic, sticky liquid. When an enemy comes too close, and the ant understands that otherwise it cannot stop him, it sharply contracts its muscles. Its body bursts. The poisonous liquid splashes onto the enemy, glues him, paralyzes him, or scares him away. The ant dies, but the colony survives. And the most interesting thing is that usually this is done not by young ants, which can still work for a long time, but by older workers. Those who already gave the colony most of their life. For us, this looks like suicide, but for an anthill, this is just another way to protect the body. One cell dies so the whole organism can live. But there is an enemy against which even such a system cannot always protect itself normally. A fungus that turns ants into zombies. Its spores get onto the ant's body, grow through its shell, and slowly start influencing its behavior. The infected ant does something that a healthy one would never do. It leaves the nest, climbs up a plant, chooses the right height, bites into a leaf with its jaws, and dies. After that, a fungus grows out of its body and throws new spores down, right onto other ants that are passing under it. This sounds like a horror movie, but it is just nature. The fungus is not evil. It has no revenge plan. It simply found a way to reproduce, and the ant for it is transport, a tool, and a victim at the same time. And even here, the colony tries to fight. Other ants can feel infected ones by smell and carry them away from the nest, so others do not get infected. Again quarantine. Again a cold, accurate reaction of the system. And after all this, it becomes kind of hard to look at ants the same way as before. Because before, it was just a small insect, something that runs on the ground, something that you can accidentally step on and not even notice. But now it becomes clear. Under our feet, there can be a whole world. A world where there are no bosses, but there is order. No language, but there are messages. No hospitals, but there is treatment. No engineers, but there are bridges. No farmers, but there are farms. No heroes in our understanding, But there are creatures that literally give their bodies for the colony. Ants are not like us, and that is exactly why they are so interesting. We build civilization through intelligence, words, plans, technologies, and constant arguments. And they build theirs through smell, instincts, millions of tiny actions, and a complete absence of a center. One ant understands almost nothing. But a million ants together sometimes look smarter than a whole group of people. So next time, when you see an ant near your feet, do not hurry to just walk past. Because maybe you are not looking at an ordinary insect, but at a tiny part of a huge empire. An empire that existed long before us, and maybe will exist for a very long time after us.